Off-grid survivor arrested. That's right, you're not allowed to be self-sufficient. You need to borrow money, buy stuff from the grocery store, create tons of trash and pollution, and suck juice from the power grid in order to be in compliance in this country. Hey everybody, my name is JJ. You're watching Bull Boom Bear Bust. It's Wednesday, August 11th, 2021. Let's talk about this Bulls and Bears. They're even talking about this over in the UK out of the Guardian. Off-grid New Hampshire man jailed for refusing to vacate cabin of 27 years. This is a guy here who lived along the river. They call him River Dave, and he's 81 years old. He's been out there now for about 30 years. So you say, that's crazy. Why would that person be arrested if he's living off grid? He's catching his own food in the river. He's hunting for his own food. He has some chickens. Somehow he managed to get some solar panels and create his own electricity. What's the problem? Well, the problem is if you live off grid, if you truly live off grid, you're not going to be able to constantly get to the bank. You're not going to be able to pay property taxes. You're not going to be able to get a check or money order out of a tree in the woods to pay those expenses that come with actually owning property. So this man was on someone else's property. But think about it, if you're truly off grid, you cannot have your own piece of land. Unless you're semi off grid, that means you're still using banks and you're still able to go to Walmart and get a money order to pay your taxes, etc. But not this guy. He was completely off grid, right? So he wasn't able to buy his own chunk of land. So therefore, legally, he's on somebody else's land. Now, I know what you're saying. JJ, he should be arrested. He's on somebody else's land. Couple things we're going to talk about in just a few minutes here. Even on your own land, you can get arrested for living off grid. And I know that sounds crazy, but stay tuned. But this guy, yes, he technically was on somebody else's land. But where is the incentive for people to be self-sufficient if you cannot even buy your own piece of land? Because again, if you're off grid, you cannot own your own piece of property because you're always going to have to go pay those taxes every year. And that means you have to go to the city or go to the mailbox or go to the post office to send in that monthly, or rather that yearly or semi-annual tax bill. All right, and I'm talking about truly living off grid. That means you're not using any modern methods of banking, paying bills, etc. So some people say you can live off grid, but then drive to the city and work your job and then get paid. You have a checking account. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about living completely off grid or away from modern banking and digital transactions, which in my opinion is truly off grid. So here's this guy, 81 years old, now has been arrested, and I'll quote this article, but his off grid existence appears to be at risk, and now he's behind bars. River Dave, as they call him, is accused of squatting for 27 years on private property in Canterbury. This is up in New Hampshire. The owner of the land seeks to tear down the cabin, so Lidstone has been jailed since July 15th on a civil contempt sanction. And this guy, River Dave, said the following to the courts, quote, "You came with your guns. You arrested me, brought me in here. You've got all my possessions. You keep them," he told the judge on Wednesday. He continues, "I'll sit here in your uniform until I rot, sir," unquote. Okay, so let's get right to the argument that I know most of you, or probably a lot of you, are saying. He's on someone else's land. He needs to be arrested. He's trespassing. Okay, I get what you're coming at. I get what you're saying. Why not reward somebody that's willing to live off grid, that's capable of living off grid? Why not get them 1 acre of land? 1 acre of land. We have billionaires buying millions of acres of land here in the United States, literally. Right? We have multi-trillion-dollar spending bills, spending packages out there, but we can't help the people that want to be self-sufficient. He's not running up tens of thousands of pounds of trash each year by going to the grocery store, buying all these packages. He's not contributing to the carbon footprint and pollution. He doesn't have a car. Looks like he has a kayak that he goes fishing in. He's not creating pollution like a lot of these companies are. and like most people do, that rely on the grocery store, that go and buy their groceries in packages and then throw away the packages. Then you have tons of plastic and trash each year thrown into the dump. And you look at places like New York City where there's so much trash on the street, there's just rats everywhere. Very unsanitary, but that's the way that looks like the powers that be want you to live. They want you to live in the city, on the grid. They want you to pay those utilities each month. They want to make it impossible for someone to live off grid. And again, I agree, this guy was on private property, but where is the incentive for people to live off grid, to be self-sufficient, to not sit there with your hand out waiting for some sort of check or payout? Where is the incentive for that? Well, there is no incentive apparently, because you're going to get arrested. Now it gets worse. Let's talk about, this goes back a couple years, the story of a family, or at least a couple, that were in trouble for living on their own property but off grid. All right, now again, this is an older story, but I want to tie this in with our more recent story that we talked about at the beginning. Couple facing arrest for living off grid on their own property. From this article, quote, a Huntsville man joined the military to fight for our rights, but now says his own rights are being threatened. A veteran and his girlfriend said the home was deemed unsafe by the city officials because they choose to live by self-sufficient means. The couple says they would rather be arrested than leave their land. And they said, quote, we live out here off grid 100% self-sustaining. So I basically made all my utilities. I have my own solar panels. I have my rainwater collection unit and stuff, unquote. The city doesn't see this as a good thing, is what they said. Limited rights that you think you have, you really don't. A lot of times these things are done in the name of safety, right? We need to make sure your home is safe, etc. And yes, there is a place for that. No one wants to see somebody's roof caving in because it was unsafe and people get hurt, maybe kids getting hurt, right? But where do you draw the line between being able to be self-sufficient versus living under the thumb of code enforcers and the safety overlords? Wow, so I guess the way to live is just to squat in somebody else's home as a renter, and that way you can point to the eviction moratorium and say, no, it's not legal to kick me out of this home even though it's not mine. Those people don't get in trouble, but someone living off grid, not reliant on any modern systems, not creating tons of pollution, gets arrested. What do you think about this, people? You let me know. It's looking pretty bad with these rising prices. I might have to try to find a place in the woods somewhere. We've got a little plot of land out here in California that we have set to run to in case, you know, what hits the fan, wildfires, what have you. But get prepared, folks, because things are not looking so good. And while a lot of you might be laughing at someone having to live off grid right now or choosing to live off grid, what's going to happen when you lose your job, when you don't have enough checks sent to you to be able to pay your overhead, all your bills? Could happen to anybody. And it's looking like more and more people need to start preparing for that, as some people say that this eviction moratorium is going to have an end date. Other people say it's going to be forever. Either way, keep stacking, keep preparing, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Bye for now, everybody. Peace.